It's not so serious, but it is. It is serious. Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, this is Johnny Beane. This is Talking Kramer Guitars. It's March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm here in 2023, 8:07 p.m. Eastern, 5:07 Pacific, out here in Santa Cruz, California. You guys, we're talking all things Kramer guitars, and tonight, actually, we're talking all things, well, we're talking Ripley guitars. We got Kramer Ripleys. We're going to talk about regular Ripleys. Lewis from Fairfield Guitar Co. is here, and we have a special guest for you guys. So smash that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and let's do it. Let's do this. All right, here we go. Yeah, you guys. Hey, welcome. What's up, dudes? I'm Johnny Beane. This is Talking Kramer Guitars. Robbie says it's Kramer time. Look at that.
Kramer time.
It's always Kramer time, Robbie. Yeah. So, yeah. Hang on. You guys. We got Lewis, Fairfield Guitar Co. How you doing, man?
Hey, everybody.
How are you? It's great to see you, by the way. It's been a little while since you've been here.
Yeah. Always happy to be on. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. And, of course, we got Robbie. There he is.
Yeah. Kramer time.
Kramer time. Dude, great to see you, man. And you guys, special guest, Brett Gould. You know a few things about the Ripley guitars, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Quite a few, actually. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. Because we were talking earlier that Lewis, I keep on seeing a picture that has been used, and it shows 4 of Ed's guitars in kind of a dilapidated shop, and I'm going, yep, that's the picture. I took that picture, and actually I had to organize the shop quite a bit. This was my first week of work with Steve Ripley. This was in the kind of the hills of Burbank, California, and it was beautiful piece of property. Had avocado trees all around this place and everything, and in the back was this shop, and it actually used to be originally a chicken shack. It was like a chicken coop.
Oh, no way.
It was all, yeah, this was a chicken coop, and the ceilings aren't all that high, and it's all block walls and everything. And these guitars, the first week I was there, and I looked at my pictures, and the best I can come up with is May of '86. And then there you have the 5150, it was one of the main guitars on the tour at that time. And then the next one was the D-neck, was the baritone guitar. It's actually, that some people say it's 24 frets. Well, 24 frets, how I always knew it, was from the nut to the end is 24 frets of like a 24 3/4 scale. This is 2 frets longer, so you tune it to a D, which is really cool. And then the next one is the bowling ball Ripley distortion, and then the next one I just learned is what people are calling Pluto. And that was a telly body, and I almost think that was Basswood, and I imagine that Tom Anderson built that body and neck. And on the bowling ball guitar, the hex distortion guitar, Tom Anderson built the body and neck on that one. And then I know that Tom probably did the D neck on, most likely, because he's done some D necks, other D necks, and even for his own guitar, for Tom Anderson Guitar Works.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a picture, and I don't know if you have that, of me at the other side of the shop. Do you have that, Johnny?
I have the one. I have that one.
Yes, that's the same day Steve went, after I lined those guitars up. Then I took that guitar and I put, the 5150, put it on my lap, and he took a picture of me. So that's a few months before I turned 26 and started working with Steve, and you can see the ceilings there. And believe it or not, we actually, and you see the fabric that's on the curtain there, that he actually used, he would epoxy that on wood. Tom would, or I think Steve would epoxy it on a slab of quarter sawn basswood, and then they would cut it out and make a guitar out of it. So that's actually leftover fabric from that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does look familiar to some of the Steve Ripley guitars.
Yes.
Some of the finishes.
And the first thing I did there is on that photo there is I started. You could see the soldering iron there was a jig there to hold circuit boards. I was stuffing circuit boards, and that was pretty intricate work. Really, actually, extremely intricate. It wasn't a standard circuit board like you would like in a standard industry thing. All the holes were much more tighter. Circuit, soldering each point was pretty. I got really good at it, and even got good at using a solder sucker to try and pull out something that wasn't quite right, or it crossed over into another circuit. Yeah, it was very interesting. But that was right out behind Steve's house, and it was Steve and Charlene and the two kids. It was Elvis and Angeline. I mean, at the time they were calling him Aaron, but it was he goes by Elvis now. Yeah.
Really quickly, we have. I need to introduce our channel members. Really quickly, did you plug in the Kramer FUTONE 50 guitar when you were holding it?
I don't remember whether I did or not.
Because that's our favorite guitar ever. That one right there. That's incredible.
Thank you.
That's the greatest guitar ever to me. I grew up. That's the guitar, and.
I mean, I did plug in Frankenstein.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
win.
Yeah.
You won already. Okay. All right. Hey, really quickly, let's say hello to the top tier of channel membership here on Johnny Beane TV, here on YouTube. Here we go. You guys, we got channel membership. We have sponsors for the channel, and the top tier, they get their names read at the top of every show, and they are CC, Stephen Franklin, Michael Smith, Music Therapy Laz, the official Rob Blackmore, Sherman Callahan, Thomas Santiago, John Moronic, OU812, Majestic PB and J Cat, Thomas Santiago again, Guitarman 45, Janice Lala, the intern, R. Habs, David Allen Wright, who, Brett Gold, I'm sure you get emails from him every day, Warlag, Rock Show, Jason Collins, and Patty Dill. Patty, your name will be on this card tomorrow. Okay. So top tier channel membership. If you want to become a channel member and help support the channel, you can do that. And you can also support with super chats. It's basically a donation towards the channel to run these shows. And the cool thing about on this channel, this is, Brett, you've ever seen a guitar moire?
Very nice.
See? It's
very nice.
Furniture. It has guitars in it.
Yes.
But these lights, these are magical lights. They change with any super chats towards the channel, towards these shows. And let's see. So that's here on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook. Johnny Beane TV Facebook page. Right there. Should be. Where we have Facebook stars. A digital gift that helps in the production of these shows. And then we're also live Facebook. Exclusively Van Halen group at 62,000 members. We're live in the EVH Gear Fans Live group, EVH Gear Fans Live page, and the Johnny Beane TV group also. So there you go. We're live, you guys. So smash that thumbs up, smash that subscribe, and do we have new channel members? Tim Thomas became a sponsor. I'm seeing all these names in the chat here. Let's see. Stream Elements is telling me. Tim Thomas, Jed N, Bryce, Robert Ranford. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. Oh, you won 2. Did you do that? Thank you. You can gift memberships on YouTube now to people. And oh, yeah, as a channel sponsor, your name is in green in the chat. You get special emojis only you can use, and you get exclusive content on the channel here that only you can watch. So, basically, no. No. Become a channel sponsor and watch. There you go. All right. Yeah. Well, hey, I don't know. Brett.
Yeah.
First of all, amazing to meet you. Thank you to Lewis, Fairfield Guitar Co., for reaching out to you and yeah, let's.
It was very nice. I was extremely flattered. I mean, I didn't realize that there was such a following of the guitar. I mean, it was a passion of love at the time, and I had just started it. I had never done it before. Steve, actually, my roommate at the time, he was kind of grooming him to start doing the guitar for him, and but he got a job doing computers, and it was a great job for him. But I didn't like the job I had in LA. And he knew that I was an organized and very detailed kind of guy, and that's what he needed. So he hired me and he taught me. So I got taught the electronics by Steve and doing the circuit boards and all that kind of stuff. And so I started making circuit boards I think I started with the basses first, because when there's not much talk about the Kramer Ripley basses, which is a 5-string bass, which was stereo. And actually there's several guys. I mean, I know that Scott Tunis, that played with Dweezil at the time, was playing one. I built one for Ed, a black one for Ed. I built a red one for Michael Picaro, and he played with Toto, and he's played it a bunch. And those were really nice basses. They were really nice. Jeff Pilson was a bass player of Ripley's, and so I did those. Then I started doing the guitar circuit boards, and then wire harnesses, and then the bodies came in, and they came into Tom Anderson, and that was in Newbury Park. So, and Newbury Park, from where Steve was in Burbank, from him, it was a good 50-minute drive out west, going past Westlake and past Thousand Oaks and into Newbury Park. Mm-hmm. And so he had it was an industrial complex, and he was in Unit 1. So that's where I did all the bodies, and I learned how to do fret jobs and fit necks and align things, and we had jigs to do all the holes for the circuit boards and everything. And that's kind of how it happened. And then there was tons of little things that happened during all that that I think back on it, it was quite magical. It was fun. One story, a quick one, because we were talking earlier about this. There's a black prototype guitar that Ed had, and it was the prototype, and it was like, so some people think that was pretty special.
Is Is it the one? Is it the one in the promo photos that
Yeah.
you guys did, where he's wearing the gray jumpsuit with the visor, and then he's out like on the beach holding one as well?
Yeah.
It looks like the one that I have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a regular.
Yeah. Just a regular. Yeah. Just like that.
It looks just like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the pointed headstock, had the rounded headstock. Yeah, just like that. Exactly. Well, we got it back. And the headstock was broken off. And we're going,
I almost broke mine off just now.
well, that's not how this one happened. Supposedly what had happened, and I took it out with me from Burbank, from Steve's place out to Tom, and seeing what because Tom was the wizard with that stuff. Can we put this back together? Can we fix it? And Tom goes, no way. This one's toast. So then the next thing is Steve had an idea of having Ed and Valerie, because what happened? Valerie was pissed, and she threw the guitar and broke the headstock off of it. Well,
oh my gosh.
Steve was thinking, we'll sell it to the Hard Rock, and we'll get the two of them to sign it. Ed was hip to it. Valerie said, no.
Isn't there a Ripley in a Hard Rock, either signed by Eddie or just says there's a plaque that says Eddie Van Halen, and it's a Ripley, but it has like one pickup and like just a few knobs. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't look like the Pluto or the Super Pluto. It looks like a different one.
Could have been. I mean, I know that he had a couple different guitars. I know that the one that they're all talking about, that one that was just like plain basswood, and it was just a naked guitar and all that. I mean, that guitar, I know it wasn't just with Ed. I mean, it was in my house, and the guy that I got, that basically was introduced to Steve from, was a guitar player, and we went and used it in our studio, and that guitar's been around a bit, definitely been around a bit, and it's a very interesting, a lot of interesting stories. But they talk about different colors. Someone say they don't see white ones or all that kind of stuff, but there's a white one that was, you guys all have it, that was signed, that looked very familiar to a white one that was in the shop for quite a long time, quite some time. And I was kind of hoping that it would stay in the shop, because I kind of like it. I mean, okay, I am a drummer. I apologize. but I do play guitar. I do play it, and I really like that white one. But there was a time where Steve was in Tulsa when his dad was sick, and Charlene told me that, she says, Steve wants you to get the white one all ready to go. Just tweak it, change the strings, clean it up, make sure everything's working right, and you need to take it to a guy at a studio. And she gives me an address, and she tells me a little bit of inside. So I had a hint, but I didn't really know. So I take the guitar there, and it was the house out front. This was in Encino. The house out front was being framed. But you walk by the workers that are framing the house, and you go back in, and you find this small shack-like building, and I knock on the door, and it's Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics. And it's his property, and his wife was there, and Jim Barber, that's who the guitar was for. And what they did is they built the property from the back to the front, which is really wise. So they built the studio, they built the tennis court and the pool, and then they're framing the house last. Well, in the studio, they were having sessions, and I kind of had a hint who it was for. And I ended up hanging out there with Jim Barber for quite a while. We're trying out the guitar, and I'm listening to these tracks that are being played, and I'm going, oh my God, its story is true. These sessions were the the solo record for Jagger and Jeff Beck.
Oh, wow.
They did a record together in, it was either 86 or early 87. And so I actually hit it off with Jim Barber, and it was his guitar now. And then in walks Jagger. I'm going, whoa, this is cool. This is really cool.
Did he walk in or did he dance in?
Yeah, he just walked in. It was pretty cool, and he was just a tiny bit guarded to begin with, but once they knew that Jim had embraced me, and so it was just Dave Stewart, Mick Jagger, and Jim Barber and I talking guitars for about 15 minutes or so, and then I knew that it was time to bow out and say, okay, they're there to work. Let them do their work, but that was a wow moment. But we talk about guys that I heard before, of people that have played that are playing Kramer Ripley's. Dweezil's one of them. He has a blue one, and I know it's a neck that was made from the Kramer factory or whatever, like you were saying, Robbie. The necks. Yeah, but I know that Tom reshaped it. I know, because he reshaped mine as well. And then I did it like Ed likes to do a tongue oil. Anything that Ed was doing, Dweezil wanted to do badly. I mean, it's just, he was a young kid. I mean, I think he was 17 or 18 at the time. And so he has a blue one. And then after that, he also got a white one that was really thick, because it had these controllers and a receiver in there, and it was basically like Pluto, what you guys are saying Pluto, but it had a big box that you plugged into that had all the knobs instead of the guitar having all the knobs. And Steve built one for Dweezil and Ry Cooder. Ry was one of his really tight buddies. And so then I built one for Howard Leese of Heart. Dave Amato, who now is playing for REO Speedwagon, he borrowed mine, which actually, this is mine, and it's a hex distortion model. Okay, let me get it.
Wow, it looks heavy.
It is. It's a boat anchor. It's poplar, and so that some of you who don't really know how all this works, let me get it to where you can see there. So we have the pan pots for each string here. Okay, then you have master volume, tone, and then you have an on-off switch, which with a little red LED. And then this switch, what this does is forward is clean guitar, and this is volume of clean, and then back is hex distortion. This is volume of hex distortion, and this is tone of hex distortion, and then you put it in the middle position, and you can mix clean with hex. These two, you just mix them together, and that's how you can get your sound out that way. That's how this works. And on the back of this, you can see there is 6 little holes on the back, and I also think that these are little blue trim pots in there, and you can trim how much you want to distort each string. So you have a ton of different controls, and then battery plate right here, and then there's 2 circuit boards inside here, and then there's a circuit board on the back of the pickup, and everything is shielded. I copper shielded everything, and that was all as per Steve, and so that it was quiet and everything. And I think you have a picture. Did I send you a picture of the inside of this guitar that you can show
Let's see.
the circuit board, and there you can see the
It's either
blue.
that one or the other. You both sent me
Yep.
pictures of the inside of both your
That's the
guitars.
one with the hex.
That's the hex, and the blue little knobs. Those are what the trim pots for each string. So you can break up the string differently on each guitar, or on each string, so you can adjust it. So
Yeah.
Wow.
and it's because the humbucking is like 6 little humbuckings in there, and it has an individual output on each one, and it's all tied in. And I would solder the circuit board on the back of the humbucker, and then that's what all the wire harness going over into the pickup pocket was. I used to have to. I dremeled a notch there. So yeah, you dremeled the notch in there so that you can get the wires in there, and then so it looks like a wiring nightmare, but it's once I did it and everything, all the tabs, you could pull them out, the connectors, the pin connectors, and it all has shrink wrap on it, and everything had shrink wrap, and Steve was a stickler for detail.
So just to give people a little bit of history, you had the hex one. There was another model like mine that doesn't have the distortion. So there's 2 different kinds. So this one just has the panning for each string, an on and off, a volume and a tone. So there was 2 different.
And yours has the LED.
Mine has.
Yours has the light.
When it's on,
yeah, mine has that too.
Mine doesn't. Mine doesn't have the light.
Really?
No, Johnny, yours is a Kramer factory guitar.
Mine, mine just has this.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Just that.
Yeah, that's an 85.
Yep.
That has the Lucido banana tilted neck, 85.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, that's just like the prototype.
Just like the neck that Valerie broke, right?
Yeah, except it was hanging off with the strings. There was still tension beyond the nut. It was funny. I mean, we got a kick out of it. I don't think at the time it was funny at all. But yeah, it was just one of those things. An artist can be kind of fickle and do some things, but yeah.
I used to hear Valerie and Edward fighting it out in the paint booth at the Kramer factory on a kind of a regular basis. It's not surprising to me.
Yeah. So that the headstock was broken. Yeah. Yeah, I could see where that wouldn't surprise you. Yeah. But Ed was as humble as, I mean, I to be quite frank, I only met him twice. I was around him more than I actually met him, but a one-on-one, just Ed and I twice, or Steve introduced me to him, and he says, "Yeah, Ed, this is our work boy. This is our employee," and that was up at his house, and it wasn't long after that. It was probably a couple months after that picture or whatever, and then the other time I went up to the house by myself with a black Kramer Ripley 5-string bass, gave it to him, and he opens the case. He goes, "This is great. This is great. But you know what I could use? And I opened up the compartment before he could get it out, and I had an extra cord and a couple of extra splitter boxes." And he goes, "Yeah, you got it." And he was, "Yep, those. I used to wire those." Yeah. And he was extremely grateful. I mean, it's just as nice and kind and not like full of himself whatsoever. Just super, super nice guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then there was a very interesting story about NAMM show would have been the January after I started, like in May. So I was working there a while, and Dweezil came to the booth, and him and I hit it off, and I introduced him to Steve, and they got going with the guitars and everything. And then Sunday night at the NAMM show, wanted to do some meeting in the valley. So we're in Anaheim, and the valley's a good 40-minute ride away. And so I had my Ford Econoline van, and I had it. I'm a musician. I carry gear. so it's all carpeted. It's all carpeted, and it's all glued to there, so I can slide gear in and out, and everything's protected. And so I had a couple flight cases in there, and I had Dennis, who was the president of Kramer, in the front seat with me, and then Steve and Floyd Rose on flight cases just behind me. Yeah, no seats, no seat belts, no nothing. Driving the 405 going up into the valley, and we went to Ed's house, then we went to Dweezil's house, back to Ed's house, and then went to a rehearsal in the valley and saw the Nelson twins, Ricky Nelson's boys, Matt and Gunnar, and saw a rehearsal there, and that was before they got signed and everything. And it was a kind of an interesting, infamous night, and that's where my driving ended there. And Dennis had called a car and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was an interesting moment.
So you said that was during a NAMM show, like weekend?
Right on the Sunday. The Sunday.
The Sunday.
The Sunday. The NAMM show was over, and we all drove. It was nighttime, because it was it was January. It's like the third week of January.
Was it 85?
That would have been 87.
87.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that was the first time we showed with the Kramer group, with the Kramer booth, and had the Kramer Ripleys there.
87? Okay, because I've got a good friend of mine that actually used to hang out with Edward at the NAMM shows during those years. And he remembers going to the Kramer booth one year and them having the Ripley on display, and you could put on the headphones, and you could either play the guitar, or they were blasting a cassette of Edward playing it. It was demos that he did.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Man, awesome.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. and when Ed showed up at the NAMM show, it was total freaking chaos. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was chaos. I mean, that he ruled the roost at that time. Yeah. A lot of fun. Yeah, and then and then after I got done with Tom Anderson, or with Steve Ripley, and that kind of ended, I just followed on and started assembling Tom Andersons. And because Tom had already taught me the assembly, and at that time he was only making 3 or 4 guitars a month. And when I got done with him 7 years later, we were making 60 to 70 a month. Yeah. Of course, a few more people assembling. Yeah, the Kramer Ripley's, it's a super interesting guitar. I mean, anybody, they owe themselves to get a hold of one and hear it. The very first time you hear it, mind-blowing.
Let me really quickly. Let me just. And hey, by the way, everybody that's watching this, thank you for watching. We got here. I'll show the chat right here. We've got a bunch of people in the chat watching this. Any questions or comments for Brett, for Lewis, for Robbie, or myself? There you go. The one that the Ripley that I have, which again I'll show this really quickly. This one, I found this at a pawn shop in Oakland, California in 1995.
Wow.
This one. You want to know how much I paid for it?
Don't tell us.
$350.
Wow. Good for you.
And then in 2016, I went to Gary Kramer's Kramer showroom. He just lives 2 hours south of me, and he signed my guitar for me. Right there.
Oh, right on.
So, but I can't tell you how many people over the years have been like, Johnny, how much for that guitar? For years. Years and years and years. And since I've been here on YouTube, I've been on YouTube for about 17, 18 years or whatever. I've done videos. And actually, I kind of met Steve virtually because I had this guitar. And if you go to one of my Kramer videos, actually, there'll be a card right up there on playback. In the comment section, you'll find Steve Ripley commenting on my videos. But anyway, yeah. So this is mine, And if you guys, a little later, if you guys want to hear it, I kind of jerry-rigged a little system together so I can play it. But I am planning on using this guitar. I do a show on Sunday nights where I actually play, and I am planning on using this guitar to play and record, and you know, I'm kind of more careful with it nowadays, you know. Although I did hit the headstock on this, but this isn't landing. But
you didn't throw it across the room.
Not yet. But if you're telling me that the prototype had a busted headstock, I got to break this headstock now.
No, you don't.
That's how crazy we are.
Johnny, take it one day at a time.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Mike Olson, you want to hear this? Okay, a little later. I've got this, and actually Lewis here actually has a little demonstration he would like to do too.
Yes,
so.
yes. Let Lewis do his thing here.
So just to give people an understanding of what a Ripley was, and Robbie, you can correct me. This is considered a signature guitar for Kramer, correct? It was Ripley's signature, like Paul Dean was, and all those were. This is a signature guitar part of the line. You know, I've been playing guitar since 1986, and this was the first one I've ever seen in person, so I bought it. I've never seen a red one. I've seen a ton of black ones out there. But to give people an understanding of what exactly it does, I kind of just set it up quickly. I'm not using the splitter box because from what I understand, you need speaker cables to use this properly. So what I have is just a Y cable. One going out, one going into one amp, one going into the other amp. And so the small Marshall is clean. The big Marshall is
the Smarshall.
So because if I keep them both clean, if you're listening on the phone or on a computer, you really can't get an understanding of how they pan left to right. So what I'll do is I'll set all the knobs to one side. We'll turn it on, and you'll hear. So that's all clean. This one being the high E. And so what happens is when you turn this, it'll turn this amp into that amp, and it's each string. So strings. So you can hear how it switches from one amp to the other. So if you put them in the middle, you get a blend of both the distortion and the clean. But obviously, if you have two clean amps and you have like reverb on one and maybe clean on the other one, you can get like a pinging effect. But you can hear that you'll get both clean and distortion. And so the cool part is if you put each string, you know, you put one string on one and one on the other, you'll get clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty. So it's cool how you can get it's almost like an introduction to wet dry systems, if you want to think of it that way. If you do two, a distortion and a clean, but that's the way they work. And so just a quick ending to the story. Mine, when I bought it, I didn't take the neck off, but I heard that there's a signature on the inside of the cavity. And I heard it was Steve's signature. So when I opened mine and I see this name, Brett, I was like, who's this guy? And so got onto the Facebook Ripley page, and Charlene answered me, and he goes, oh, he used to work for us back in Burbank. And so I got in touch with him through Facebook, and he built this guitar.
Yep.
Wow.
That's the demo on that.
And what they come with is it's a stereo cord that you chord. It's just a guitar stereo cord that comes out of it because it's a stereo jack in that guitar, and you put it into that splitter box, and then you just take two normal guitar chords and come out of that splitter box and go. The best way is to have two identical amps and put them in two corners of the room and play the guitar and split up the strings on either side, and it's just like, wow, you've never heard anything quite like it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you say did this guitar come before the whole wet, dry, wet Bradshaw system, or was it at right about the same time?
About the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about when Bradshaw was doing all the Bradshaw rigs and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's basically the same concept. It's a stereo concept, 2 amps, and then obviously if you get more of these, and I got this one from Charlene when I bought the guitar.
Right.
It didn't come with this, so I contacted her.
What you need with that is a stereo guitar cord.
Stereo cord, okay, not a cable.
Just a stereo guitar cord, and so it's why it's got a 1/4-inch jack. It's just a stereo guitar cord. Just plug it in. Yep. Stereo guitar goes in the stereo end, and then you do left and right out of that into two different amps, and when you split up the strings in a room, it's just like it's beautiful. It's a beautiful.
And I heard if you get multiple of these, you can split those again and go into more amps and really get crazy.
Yeah, well,
How many amps do people have?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But that's the whole idea, is to do a stereo, get a right and a left, get it pinging.
Yeah.
You change it, pinging left and right.
I'll do a quick demonstration of mine. I actually tracked down a stereo cable last night. When I got this back in 1995, I was working at you ever heard of a shop called Subway Guitars in Berkeley, California?
No.
You ever heard of that place? I worked there back in the 90s, and it was the owner. His name's Fat Dog. Ry Cooder used to come in all the time.
Really?
Yeah, back in the 90s. Anyway, the owner saw the guitar at a pawn shop in Oakland, knowing I'm this huge Van Halen fan. He's like, Johnny, you got to go check this out. I went, and it's a pawn shop, so I felt bad, like, oh, somebody owns that, So I left it there for a month. I came back a month later, it was still there. So I got it. I got the guitar, no splitter box, none of that. But I had a friend that worked at the shop. He's like, Johnny, here's what you get. He sent me to Radio Shack, and he told me exactly what cables to get, and it works. I got the thing to work for years. I recently got a splitter box as well from Charlene. I've got one right here. So anyway, I'm plugged in directly into my interface here that this is plugged into. So the tone is not going to have the greatest tone, but just to show you guys.
But just to get the idea.
Yeah. You're going to hear this. But yeah, the tone's not going to be great. I am going to improve it. But yeah, the tone's not awesome or anything. But you can hear the separation. You know? You can hear that, right, Brett?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of it, is to get it where it goes from left to right, and however you play it, however you want to set it up. Yeah.
It's a little dirty, but there you go.
Yep.
So. And
it's a hard pan. I mean, when you pan it hard one way, it will not go out of the other side.
Right. I usually hard pan them.
Yep.
I am working on, because like I said, I do a show Sunday nights where I do play the guitar. I am going to have a better setup where you can actually hear the guitar better. But you guys can, in the chat, you can hear that, right? Everybody use your headphones.
Yeah.
So you can hear the strings going back and forth.
Yep.
There you go. There you go.
That's the whole idea. You got it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm seeing in the chat, yes, there are Bartolini's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Bartolini pickup.
Let's see yours, Robbie.
No, I do not have it.
Hold on. I should have got something.
We need a group photo. There we go.
Mine's got more knobs.
But wait. This dog will have his moment. Please tell me, Brett.
Yeah.
When you dress a guitar neck, do you back bow the neck before leveling?
Oh yeah.
Did you hear that, everybody out there? Did you hear that?
Yes.
He said yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I learned it from Tom, and it has tension on it, and it's down. And I have a machined, but it's ultra flat, a straight edge. Put it on there and make sure the neck is. Yep, and then you level the frets, and actually you get a little bit heavier on the upper end strings. And take them down a little bit, but then you bring it across, and yes, absolutely. Good point, Robbie.
So you're saying that you're reproducing the tension on the neck, which makes it curve some. So
Yes.
backbowing allows that to come out flat.
Yeah.
When it's under tension.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't really understand why Edward told me to do that, but that's what I do. Even though I only use ESP necks from 1979 to 1985, or the Lucido tilted banana like Johnny has.
Right.
They don't really move a whole lot.
Right.
But backbowing it before like leveling, it enables me to get those strings a lot closer to the frets.
Right.
I don't have to put relief in the neck.
And my experience with working with so many different necks with Tom is some necks move. They just do, and some don't. And I like when the grain is really tight and it's really flat with the neck. There's no tailing off or anything like that. Really, and it seems to be better. And we hated using bird's eye maple, always twisted.
Yes,
Never used ebony. It didn't expand and contract at the nearly the same rate that maple did. So an ebony fingerboard, and thought it was way too thin. The sound wasn't quite fat enough for us. Rosewood was nice, and then you get this ban on Brazilian rosewood that was kind of rough. So anybody that had a stash of it, we used. And I was just recently in Brazil, and you should see the places, these extravagant places with Brazilian rosewood floors in them. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, God, could I just tear up some of these floors and take it to Tom? I mean, it was beautiful Brazilian rosewood.
And if you notice the grains or the figuring on Edward's neck, he did not want really fancy
straight maple.
Straight,
hard rock, eastern straight maple.
You couldn't see any figuring or striping or nothing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. So Brett, see everybody that's held this guitar, and again, that's my favorite guitar in the world right there, the Kramer 5150. Do you have any idea what wood that guitar is?
No, I don't. I didn't even ask what it was.
That's like the biggest debate ever. Well, one of them with a lot of these guitar nerds. Although this guy says he knows, so.
I was at the factory the day that they came out of the paint booth. Edward had us kick the guitars around on the floor because he thought they looked too new. And then he took us outside and told us exactly where to kick them around in the parking lot and how to kick them with the side of our foot gently. And all those, we made 5 of those bodies. All 5 were poplar. All 5 were painted in the Kramer paint booth. He was in the booth. He helped stripe, and I think he did some primer on them. But that's all. That's basically, he was directing how to tape them, and stuff like that. But I mean, I held the thing. It was poplar. They were all poplar. So were the Ad Frankie guitars.
These are poplars too. We were mentioning before. I thought it was basswood. Yep. These are poplars, correct?
Yep.
Well, Ed did not want any poplar going out of the factory because he played poplar. He liked the sound, the way it reacted with the feedback.
And
so,
and the poplar's quite a bit heavier than basswood. Basswood's pretty light. It's a really light light guitar. It is, but it's got the richest basses and mid-range, really clarity and tone, and like Ed's his bowling ball one that is his hex distortion was basswood. It's fabulous wood. It's really light, easy to fix. No real problems with that. But then I do you have a picture?
Let's see.
I have
Which
one
one?
other one with the one with me playing the one with Frankenstein.
Yep, the other one. The other
That one?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So-
that is Frankenstein. Yes.
So-
and go ahead.
So what is the story? What is the really quick? Let me tell you, when I was a kid, I remember waking up to go to school one morning, and this was in 1980. I want to say 89, early 89, and there was a music video on MTV for a song called "Feels So Good" off Van Halen's "0812" album. I remember seeing the video, like when I think it premiered, and Eddie's playing the Frankenstein, but it has that neck on it. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, whoa, it's the Frankenstein, and it's a different neck. What is the story?
Well, that one, I know he wanted a different neck on it, and so Tom Anderson made him a new neck, and we had the body there. And if you notice, my arm is kind of covering up the quarter that the Floyd Rose sits on in the back. Well, Tom, and because the Floyd Rose is supposed to be set up parallel with the body, but Ed wanted the bridge on the body. He felt that it resonated the body more, and that there is a lot of truth to that. That if the bridge is really touching the body, it's going to resonate it more. So Tom made the neck so that it can actually sit on the body, and it being parallel with when you set it up with the string height. So I actually had to Dremel out the corner of the quarter so that the bridge would actually sit on. I put in, a little grinding tool and a Dremel tool, and just made a little grinding spot on the quarter so it would sit down on the body. And I tongue oiled the whole thing, or I raised the grain on it, which means so that when water gets on it, the grain doesn't come up. And it was like wet and then sand it off and wet it and sand it off. And so it was quite an ordeal to get it done. And then I dressed the neck, and Benny Rodriguez did the paint job on the headstock. Yeah, Benny did that all himself.
I've seen there's a photo of Benny with the guitar too, I think.
There probably is.
I know Benny. He has a shop out here, actually, and I've met him a couple times over the years.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And I've been trying to get him on the show for years, and at some point, I think we were going to do the show from his shop, actually.
Yeah, we were. Benny was the only one working with Tom at the time. So at that time, it was just I was doing the Kramer Ripley stuff, and Benny and Tom were out in the wood shop making parts. And they more or less made mostly parts for a ton of different people, bodies and necks for Pensacer and all that kind of stuff. The neck was great. I mean, it was fit the body nice. Tom was a wizard with the geometry of guitars. I mean, so that his way of making sure that the neck fit ultra tight, wasn't going to move at all, and that the strings are dead center down that neck. It's nothing over one side or the other. And so that because the guitar it's the sum of a lot of parts that have to be really precise, and he was great at it. I mean, he still is great.
He has that neck that's almost like a V shape.
Yeah, I saw that. I've still talked to Tom every once in a while, and I've been out to the factory since he moved from there in Newbury Park, and he put a V in the neck, which settles it into centering in there. I mean, I remember doing other guys. I did Dwayne Bailey's guitars when he was playing with Chicago and stuff, and he would, and also Rick Springfield did, where I'd put 6 neck bolts in just to anchor it down so the thing was not going to move at all, and they didn't. But and then we all plugged that guitar in. We studied that. We studied Frankenstein from every inch of it. And yeah, I didn't realize the gravity of it at the time, not at all. And that was like December of '86, I believe, is when that photo was taken. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun times. And I wasn't there when he came to pick it up. I think he was there on a Saturday, and Tom and Benny were at the shop, and Ed pulled up. He was going to visit his brother Alex in Santa Barbara, and him and Valerie were in his Lamborghini Countach, but he had somebody else with an SUV driving behind to put the guitar in because the guitar wouldn't fit in the Lambo. Yeah, things were rough. Yeah.
Tell people who might not know the relationship between Tom Anderson and Kramer, because there's a relationship. That's why, because when I first found out about it, I was like, why is Tom Anderson working on Kramer? And I'm one of the newer guys that didn't really know Tom Anderson as a parts builder until 10 years ago. For me, he was a guitar company, but before that, he was like Schecter and right. And those guys. Yes. He was building parts. So was he building parts for Kramer at the time, and that's how he got hooked up with Eddie through Kramer?
No, he built parts for Tom. Okay. Tom built parts for Steve.
Okay.
So they were. I mean, that was Steve and Tom were like partners on this. So Tom was actually a partner on this Kramer stuff. Tom did all the bases. Tom built all the base bodies and necks for the Kramer Ripley bases. It all came from Tom. Gotcha. And Tom built other parts, but Tom and Steve had a relationship before I ever was there, before I ever knew him. Yeah. So that was a very long lasting relationship. And then they did some really cool stuff. And, like we did one for Alan Holdsworth that was really thin maple on the tops and backs, and the middle was balsa wood. Really strange. It was really a weird guitar, and I got to go take it out to Alan and met him, and then also I think you have a photo there of Ripley stuff, and these are all Tom parts, and these are Ripley's for Steve Vai. They were bowling balls. They're like purple-looking bowling balls, and the one is the Tom Anderson shape, or the Steve Ripley shape, and the other one is a Strat with an HSH in it.
Is it this? Oh wait, I got a cup. Is it the one by like a pool?
Yes, that was okay. Yes, so the one on the left is a Ripley, and that's a Ripley body. That's Ripley shaped body, which looks a lot like the PV, doesn't it? Just saying. It's very just saying. I didn't say anything there. But so that's Steve Vai's Ripley. And then the one on the right, if you notice, if you count from the nut to the octave, there's 16 spaces there. The only notes that plays that we know of is open and the octave. That's it. Everything else doesn't go with anything else we play. It's 16 steps. And I brought it to Steve, and Steve, he starts doodling around on it, and he goes, yep. He says, I'm either going to contact aliens or I'm going to cure cancer. And he meant it. But both of those are Steve Vai's. And that was at I lived in Mission Hills at that time and was working for Steve. And I actually had the electronics part of the shop in my bedroom at the time, there at my house, because Steve had moved out and moved to Tulsa. So I did the electronics and the circuit boards and stuff. And I got up from my bed and went to the bench and started working. And then I'd take everything with me too. And I even stuffed bodies there. I even had bodies there. And then I'd take them out to Tom, and I'd dress the frets and get everything out. And everything got shipped from Tom Anderson. All the guitars got shipped from Tom Anderson. Yeah, he had a side room that we kept all the guitars in, and yeah, it was a pretty cool time.
So it was Tom that was with. I thought it was Eddie that was in partnership with Steve.
Well, yes, he was, but the working people of it were Steve, Tom, and I.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tom had an agreement that, because he was making the parts for the basses and all that kind of stuff, and he provided the shop for me to work at. And that's why it naturally really lent itself that after we were done with the Kramer Ripley stuff, which only lasted about a year and a half, I think I worked with that. And then everything got shipped out and everything got shipped back to Steve. And then I started assembling for Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how that. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I said that's how that kind of all went down and worked out. And I don't know, did I didn't, but this picture, I don't think you have this, but this picture is on my workbench in my bedroom. And those were the two boxes. One of them was for Dweezil and one was for Ry Cooder. And that's basically the replica of Pluto, except it's in those boxes. That's what that is.
Wow.
Yeah, and when you look inside, Steve hardwired everything. It's not like stuffing a circuit board. Steve, it was all hardwired, and he would, and he had this tool, and he'd twist it around the post, and then pull it up and clip that, and then, it was painstakingly, meticulous work of hardwiring that stuff in there with this tiny little wire that had coating on it so that if they touched, they didn't cross. And it was, you look at it and you go, holy cow, what the hell is this?
I'm scared to open mine up.
Oh, no.
I'm scared to change the strings.
No, because these are all a printed circuit board. And we just stuffed the parts in the circuit board. You had to know what this, it's all resistors and just
don't get it wet.
Oh hell no.
When I bought mine, the electronics weren't working great. They were working, but I just sprayed it with with electrical cleaner, and they started working up right away. So
I should do that with mine.
Yeah, it was just a printed circuit. Robbie, you guys stuffed the boards for that guitar. I don't think I stuffed boards for I think I only did the hex distortion boards and the Kramer Ripley basses. So you guys at the shop probably stuffed the boards for that one.
So I got a unique one that has your name on it. It doesn't have the hex on it.
Well, we would have had to get it, the circuit board ready to go. I mean, it wasn't like technicians working on them. I'm sure they farmed that out. They got the board ready to put in the guitar. And
they were when you got them? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I was the guy that was farmed out for the hex distortion guitar. Yeah. And it's pretty intricate soldering, but I look back on it and it was meticulous work, but I liked it. And I had a system.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense what you were saying about the years and your involvement with Tom Anderson and Edward being involved with him making parts right around late 87, 88 when crap hit the fan with Edward not getting royalties, Floyd not getting royalties. They took off. They weren't going to have anything from there anymore. It makes sense that Edward would go there to somewhere where you could get something done without a lot of hassle, if you will.
Right.
But, after it stopped like at the beginning of '88, and then it was just a lawsuit, forever,
Right.
But, yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that. They think that Edward was still with Kramer when they had the fire sale, but he was gone. I mean, he had legal obligations, to promote certain things for a certain amount of time. But it's making sense to me now. The whole the tie-in with Tom Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you happen to have any history on the tie-in with Bartolini? Like, did Steve design the?
That's a Steve thing.
Yeah, because I reached out to them, and they were, they're in the middle of preparing for NAMM and moving, and so David Galatas, who's a luthier there, he wrote back to me. He wrote, "We have documentation of the technical specifications if we ever decide to build them again, but I hear that they are very difficult to do." So it's something that came up the other day. I was wondering how that relationship started with who got it going.
That's a Steve thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Steve had relationship with a ton of people. I mean,
Sure.
Like Roger Lynn that made the Lynn drum, and he had some other engineers that worked that did things. I met a ton of people through him. I mean, absolutely amazing people. A bunch of people that work for. It's like guys that he did on his own guitars. He did for Michael Cimbella. Remember the song "Maniac" that was
he had
Flashdance. He had a plexiglass Ripley. Yeah, wouldn't stay in tune under the lights for anything. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
Mike Olson.
A bunch of stuff for Ry Cooder. Bunch of stuff for Dweezil, James Burton with Elvis. Yeah, I mean, his guitars were over there. Jimmy Buffett, Steve Vai. Steve somehow just knew people.
Yeah.
And
did you do anything for Lucas there?
Yeah. I've actually, that's the first guy that I met when I moved to LA. I moved there in like December of '83. And my roommate that knew Steve and everything, he says, "Steve wants me to go to the house and get a guitar. He's in the studio with Lukather. You want to go with me?" And I'm going, "Yeah." And so we went and, I'm 23 years old. I'm going, well, and I just got to LA. So we're off and we're there and going and spending time with a little bit with Lukather and Steve, and they're talking. And generally speaking, when Steve's talking with another artist, you need to disappear. You need to just go away, unless he brings you into the conversation. Otherwise, just go away. He was very selective as to maintain the relationship with the other artists. But then I had one night where Steve and I and my roommate and Jim Keltner spent all night in a studio. I don't know if you guys know who Jim Keltner was, but he's drummed for more people than y'all have records by a long shot. I mean, the Who, Beatles, Pink Floyd. I mean, he did. In fact, I went with Steve to the studio. Keltner was playing drums. And it was Ry Cooder, John Hyatt, and then there was a band that they put together, and they were doing a showcase, and we were at SIR in Hollywood, and it was just. And then later on that day, bumped into Jeff Porcaro, doing stuff, and Jeff knew Steve. It's like everybody seemed to know Steve. I don't know how he got, but. I mean, y'all know that he did a tour with Dylan in like, I don't know, I think it was like 80 or 81. He did like about 83 shows with Dylan. And he'd talk with him and a bunch of stuff. He had a really great relationship with J.J. Cale. It was Steve and I and Cale in a studio in Studio City, or in his apartment, talked for hours about, he was going to downsize and move to an RV down near Anaheim. I'm just going, what the hell? I mean, this guy has written more great songs. It was interesting. Very, very interesting. So I met a ton of people through Steve, and I ended up meeting Don Lombardi and John Good of DW through Steve, and being a drummer, I was in heaven. So I've been a DW drummer for quite a while now. Quite some time. And I know we're talking guitars, but I am a drummer. And we
talk drums on Thursdays.
Yeah, they actually had, because when I was at Tom's in the industrial park where Tom was at the time, that's where DW was. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was kind of interesting. It was like a music heaven there in that little U-shaped industrial park. Yeah. But yeah, the relationship with Tom and Steve was special. They were very dear buds. Yeah. Yeah, and Steve would come up with an idea, and Tom would figure out how to do it. It's just like that 16-tone neck. It's a trig formula, to figure out where to put the frets. But yeah, that hideous looking HSH. Yeah.
So try to explain again, so 16 frets. The octave is at 16 then?
No, the octave is at the octave.
Okay. Oh, yeah, right.
The two dots is at the octave. So those are the open string, and octave is the only thing that we all know. All the other notes don't go with anything, because we all work in a 12-scale neck.
It's a microphone neck.
Right.
Oh yeah, it was bizarre. Really bizarre. Well, also built him it was a Basswood body, and I think it was a Maple Palfaro neck, and it was a Floyd Rose, but it was a fretless guitar. And all of us tried to play it, and it kind of sounded like hell. And I took it out to Steve, and he's going, "Whoa!" And he starts picking up, and he's nailing it. The guy's got intonation just flowing through his veins or something, but he played it beautifully. And Steve also had another interesting idea, where he made for Rye, took a bass neck, except sized it down a bit so that he could string it like a regular guitar, and put it had a Floyd Rose on it, but he had to get special strings made for it, and it tuned down to like a B. It was well below the D, down almost like a B, and Rye didn't like it that much, it sounded almost like a piano playing. It was really kind of cool. And Dweezil had an interest in it, so took it up to the house, and Dweezil's still living at home with his dad, Frank. And come to find out, Dweezil said that guitar was Frank's favorite guitar that Dweezil owned. Dweezil bought that, and so it's a full-length bass neck, except stringed like a guitar, like a regular 6-string guitar. It was really cool. That was a strange sounding guitar. Yeah.
It's super baritone.
Yeah, and then some. And then some, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. It was pretty cool. Cool stuff. But the Kramer Ripley stuff was a stepping stone for me. But what a huge stepping stone. I mean, big time. I didn't realize even until just recently where David Allen Wright has this group chat or whatever on Facebook, and Angeline, Steve's daughter, sent me a message and said, you might want to check out this group. So I went and joined the group, and I'm looking, and that's how I saw that, Lewis, you had your cover plate off, and I saw that Angeline or that Charlene wrote you back with my name, I'm going, wow. That's why I wrote on there at the moment. I'm going, this really warms my heart.
Yeah.
It really did. It's really kind of special. Thank you, guys.
Well, it's great because, you know, there's really not that many of them around. They started popping up, you know, for the last couple of years. I really have not seen that many at all. And recently, they started popping up. People are, you know, there's black ones with maple necks coming up. I don't know the history of, you know, the banana headstock versus the pointy headstock. They seem to be made around the same time. Robbie, that's maybe something you can help with. But I have, obviously, the pointed one. And I've never really seen too many pointed. I know Adam,
I only dealt with the pointy ones. That's all I had that they sent.
I've never seen that many at all. Most of them I've seen are the banana or the hockey headstocks.
There's some out there. I did
Yeah,
it for
the pointies was in 1986.
Yeah.
In 1985, well, if you have the block logo, like you've got, Lewis, that's 1980. That's 86. In 87, the pyramid logo with the bigger K and it goes down like that.
I've seen one of those. Yeah, on a Ripley.
The one Johnny has is a 1985 Lucido neck, and in 1995, Lucido made most of the necks. There are some ESP transition necks that look similar, although the banana looks a little bit different. But that's how you can tell it, and they're all made from ESP.
And then this,
the pointies, and except for the one Johnny has, the 85s, that's Lucido out of Canada.
And so mine used to look just like Lewis's. It
Right.
used to, until I won a bet on a football game. Well, I don't know. Did I tell you that? I won, well, with Pat Wilkins, we bet on a football game. And actually, believe it or not, I think, because I moved there to L.A. from Colorado, and I was a Broncos fan. So I think we had a bet on a game against the Raiders. And because the Raiders at the time were in L.A. And I won the bet. Hence, he sanded off the black and that and put the to match my body. He matched my body and then put on the Steve Ripley logo instead of the Kramer Ripley logo.
Which is a little different. You're right. Ripley
it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, they made it a little skinnier.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yours was a black headstock originally.
Yeah, mine looked like that.
His.
Exactly like that. It did until I won the bet. I was pretty happy about that because I wanted it to match the body. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say that, you know, Steve Ripley, even though he was born in Idaho, he grew up, went to high school in Oklahoma. He went to Oklahoma State University before he went out to California.
Right.
And then when he came back to Oklahoma and bought the church, which was Leon Russell's old studio.
Yep.
And he's highly regarded in Oklahoma for what he did for the music community out here. You know, the bands he played in. He did a lot of charity stuff to help musicians in Oklahoma. So.
Yeah. And he brought me out there. Because he had the band The Tractors that he did in the studio. And in 95, he flew me out there for a week, stayed with him at the house, and I actually had a room that for a while it was called my room. And I worked with him in the studio for a week, getting his guitars ready for tour with the Tractors. Studio was beautiful studio. It was very interesting. Big nice staircase going up with all these, it's all big stone. It's a big church, and it was Leon Russell's old studio, which he was Leon Russell's engineer. He engineered a bunch of stuff. He did that before he got the tour with Dylan, and then he came back and I think he made a lot of connections through that as well, with so many different artists. It really gave him a lot of clout, and but I mean, Steve's really smart, extremely smart. He was the whiz, and if he had questions, he had his fingertips at some of the smartest, most technical whiz guys in the business. I mean, the engineers that were amazing, guys that were building, like the guy, just like Roger Lynn building the Lynn drum. I mean, he had him at his fingertips. He had the guy that did all the Beach Boys and build their own console and did all their recordings. And I got to go and meet all these people and hang out with them. But so Steve utilized a lot of other brains too to become smarter. I mean, that's what smarter people do. They just surround themselves with smarter people than themselves and learn.
That's what I'm doing.
He was already brilliant. Yeah. So but it was very good right up until the end, and he called me and about a week before he passed, and we talked to each other about once a year, and he called me and he texts me and he says, "Have I got you up to speed about my health issues?" And I got on the phone immediately, and then we talked for about a half an hour, and we had a good cry, both of us, and said goodbye. Yeah, rough times, but I relish the fact that he's a friend, and I could call him a friend, and I learned so much from him. Another thing that he taught me is say exactly what you mean. Use your words to say exactly what you mean. Boy, he harped on me hard. Says, don't beat around the bush. I want to know exactly what you have to say. Yeah, good guy. Really good guy, and a brilliant musician and a brilliant mind, and he came up with a beautiful instrument. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Really quickly, I never met Steve in person, but we became Facebook friends. I'm looking through my history here about 2012. Actually, he used to message me because, like I said, I was making videos on my YouTube channel here with my guitar, so that's how he found me. And he would ask me questions about like Van Halen stuff, about like what's the deal with this song or that or whatever. So I'm looking through this and I'm seeing, so he would like send me messages. Like he sent me this back in like 2014. He's like, the message with this says, "Johnny, when are you going to buy this guitar?" And it's basically, he was making some Ripley, I guess, at home. Yeah. And they were bodies that Edward had signed.
Right.
So there's Edward's signature up there. So there you go.
Yeah, I read about those. Yeah, those are bowling balls by Pat. And and had Ed sign some. Yeah. Yeah. So he would tease me. He would tease me, and he would send me photos. Like here's another one that he sent me. I guess that's I think that's the Ripley that's in that Hard Rock I was talking about. Huh. I think that's the one that's unpainted.
Yeah.
And that used to be in our house at times. I've had that over at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a really cool guitar. And it's the Ripley shape, and it was Basswood.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, he sent me this, I think. But anyway, and then yeah, he would send me other photos of other, there's like that one. That's the one right there. I believe it's Edward had signed it. That's the one that's in that photo right here. Where is that? The photo that you took. That one, the second guitar.
Oh, the
striped one.
That's the D neck. Oh, but it's that body. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then, I was wondering if I could ask you a question. I have a friend of the show here who's asking me to ask if you know how Pat Wilkins came up with the red cloud painting. Or
the bowling ball stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know how he came up with it. I know how he did it. He would like here's a guitar. It's a kind of a miniature one that he made for his son, Elvis. So what that was, it was white paint. He painted the body white, and then it cured, and then he would spray a certain amount of red, and then he took an air hose and blew the red around with an air hose. That's how he'd create the bowling ball.
Interesting.
Wow.
It was that's exactly, because the white was already cured and dried, so it took a little while.
Yeah. So yeah, we were talking last week of how Tom Anderson or Kirk Hammett had a bowling ball. Tom Anderson.
Oh no, he has several. Because I did. It was either 3 or 4 guitars by Kurt Hammett.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. Really quiet. really, really quiet. Wouldn't say. Like, remember I told you that I would put guitars together, no electronics, nothing. This was for Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, and I'd get them all ready like that, and I'd send them to Steve, and he would build them. From there, he'd put the electronics in it, and then yeah.
You had mentioned there's also a blue bowling ball, blue and black bowling ball.
Oh yeah. Did I send you a picture of that?
I don't think you
did.
You showed us before the show started.
Is it that?
I think I sent. No. Oh, that's Dweezil's.
That's just a blue.
Oh, the other guitar here. That was just parts that Dweezil had. Dweezil thought that if he burned the guitar, he was young. He thought if he burned the guitar, it would make it lighter. It didn't do anything, obviously. So he put stickers all over it to change it from it being burned. But he gave me the body and the pickguard and a couple pickups and a neck and a bridge. And he says, "Can you put this together and make it look like a guitar?" And I did. And I put it all together, and he was selling it to the Hard Rock. And come to find out, him and Moon signed it. And actually, back in the late 90s, I was up in San Francisco. I went to the Hard Rock, and it was hanging on the wall there.
Cool.
In the Hard Rock in San Francisco. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I was just going, holy cow.
I wonder if it's still there. Because I'm in Santa Cruz.
Oh.
So I can just jump on my bike and get over there.
Oh, really? I just had that. I just had the same thing happen to me in Ushuaia, Argentina, with one of Tom's guitars.
I saw that.
Ushuaia, Argentina is the southernmost city in the world. It's right down where the horn, when they say going around the horn, the very tip of South America. Ushuaia is right down there. It was a very cool place. I mean, it's a bucket list place. And when they have a Hard Rock there, and I look up behind this gated off area, and I see an Anderson, and I'm going, oh my God, is this? And I talked to my brother-in-law who speaks English, and I says, can you get them so that I could take a look at that? So they let me right up there and looked at it, and I'm going, it's probably very likely that I put it together because I know the year that those specific guitars were made, because it was a maple top before he bent the maple top over the armrest, so it was a flat top maple on basswood, and it was from the band Mana, the guitar player Sergio, something like that, from the band Mana, and I sent them to Tom, and they put it on their page and everything. But yeah, Anderson's in the Andes. Yeah, they got a kick out of it. Yeah, but but there's a bowling ball guitar that's by a door that was, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who. And I'm looking at the back of the picture, and I have nothing, no name, no nothing on the back of the picture. Can't remember.
Is it that?
Yeah, and I really like that guitar. That one is a hex distortion. And that one is probably pretty darn rare. I mean, I don't think there's not another one like it. And that was a Tom Anderson body and a Tom Anderson neck, Pat Wilkins paint job, and all the hex distortion done in it. And it was set up. It was set up a little bit different because of the pocket, the electronics pocket. You'll notice at the bottom where the switches and the lights, it's different. So I think Steve must have had to wire that one. I think I built it all and then gave it to Steve and he wired it. Or we had to set things up different.
They're all different configuration of switches there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is that a Kramer?
Yeah.
So
that's a Kramer Ripley.
Reverse headstock.
Yes. Yes.
That's the only one I've ever seen like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Kramer Ripley. It's a Kramer Ripley. It's a hex distortion, but Tom's control cavity was different that he had, and so it has the circuit boards in there, but the volume and tone had to be in different spots in this because his cavity was in a different. It's a different shape. It's kind of like the cavity that he had in the basses because he had specific. He used the pin router. And he had specific things that he would use to make his bodies. At that time, he did not have the CNC mills. But I know for sure that Tom made all those parts, and then we put it together and had to put the switches in a different spot.
Looks like a classic Tom Anderson banana shape.
Yep. And it's not a tilt back. That's a straight
right.
flat. Yes.
Yeah. I know. I've crossed over into the non-tilt ESP, Grail banana. I still have some tilted bananas, but I'm actually giving away the last of the pointies I have. And they're not even three-piece pointies. They're transitions with just the headstock glued on.
Right.
But yeah, you go down the wormhole and it gets dark and lonely down there.
Yeah. Keeping the neck perfectly straight is the way to go. I mean, nice, straight, hard rock maple it's the only way to go. I mean, some people like the fancy stuff, but when it comes to a neck, plain Jane is the best. It's going to be always there for you. It's not going to twist. And that's one thing that Tom did is once he took it from block form and took off the major portion of the wood, they would sit for like 2 weeks before he'd continue, because if they twisted, he'd just throw them in the trash. Yeah, he just, because after you take a certain amount of wood off the neck, then it's going to, it was a living organism at one time. It's going to do something. And if it twists and it's screwed up, then why go further down that, like you said, that rabbit hole? Why go further and try to save a net? Just throw it in the trash.
I want it to be the easiest as I possibly could work on, and that's why I like those 79, 85 ESPs, especially the ones come out of the 48th Street in New York. And like you said, arrow straight. So the relief sanded into the frets. I don't ever have to adjust a truss rod, but then these necks are all 40 years old, at least.
Right. Yeah. And I used to have this conversation with Tom too about that it was a living organism, and it's not living anymore. So it doesn't have sap going through. So the molecular content of that wood changes over time. Eventually it becomes petrified. It doesn't just happen like that. It takes time. So over time, and that's why certain things, when they get older, they may sound much better. The wood dries out more. It's been dead longer. I know that's kind of a morbid sound, but it has been. And so the molecular structure of the wood is going to change over time.
I agree with you 100%. And even if you get one of these CNC necks nowadays, like FUTONE sells the Boogie Bodies necks. He's got a crew out there in Pennsylvania, and they make them right there in the United States, but they're a little bit thicker, which makes them a little more solid, so they hold up better. It's a one-piece quarter swan. The fretboard is the maple of the wood. It's got the truss rod, the skunk stripe in it. But that thing stayed pretty straight. It had a little bit of a lip in it, so I had to take out a little more fret to compensate. But I actually got it to work. And then when you have to use a newer wood, because I used a Musicraft body on it, which I had to really modify because they put everything in the wrong spots, that basswood actually works pretty well because it's pretty stable, light wood. So you get an even tone, even if it's younger wood. It makes it a little bit easier than if you try to make a poplar body now, and is it going to move? Is it going to change? Compared to the one from 84 or whatever, that's pretty much established. It's not going to move because it's been there for so long. So I could see how the different materials would be an advantage if different woods being newer and made, not 40 years ago would be a little more stable. Right.
And another little trick, I don't know if you've done this, Robbie, is with basswood. You can strip a screw really easy in basswood. It's because it's really soft wood. Tom taught me a trick. You screw the screw in, you pull it back out, and then you put in your hole, you put the ultra thin super glue in there. And you basically just created a really nice, stiff, hard bushing to screw your screw in, and you won't strip it out. It's really slick. Screw the screw all the way in, then pull it all the way back out, and then put that ultra thin super glue in the hole. Let it just go, and it'll just drink it. It'll just drink it right up, and it'll be gone. And let it get hard, and then screw the screw back in. Slick.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Beautiful, beyond worth information from Tom Anderson.
Yeah,
blows me away.
I mean, I don't think there's any guitar I've put together without little super glue somewhere. I mean, we would even, especially in basswood, if something got dinged or something like that, you just take sawdust and you put it on top of the body, and then you put super glue on it, let it get hard, and you sand it out, and it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I use it sometimes if you get a body that you're not going to send out to paint, and there's a wicked chip in it, and you can fill it. If it's through to the paint, if you've got a black body and you got a big hole and it's clear through and you can see the wood, then you got to take a magic marker or something,
Sharpie,
and put it on
brilliant.
And then put the super glue over to mimic the clear coat, and then polish that out. And you won't be able to tell. That's a repair.
Yeah, we've done that to a ton of stuff. Now, if you have a body that you're going to do a clear or a translucent paint job, then that's a no bueno. Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah, but is a solid body guitar or a solid paint job on something? Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of things.
I'm going to show you something. Us guitarists, I don't know if it's the same for drummers. We all have guitars that we sold that we regret getting rid of. This was an '88. You probably built this one. This was an '88 lamb top, I think they called it, with the Strat style headstock that I had.
Right. Yeah.
That I wish I still had. You probably built that one.
Probably. Yeah. Well, and did it have a maple top on basswood?
It did. I don't think you could. There you go.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Maple top, and it's got the Strat headstock, and I think about this guitar all the time. I wish I never sold it.
Oh, and it has it doesn't have the Tom Anderson shape now. It has the old, because we got in trouble from Fender. They were saying, "Oh yeah."
I wish I still had this one. It's one of the ones I regret getting rid of.
It's very very, very good chance. I would say probably. I would say yes, I did build that.
There's
Yes.
probably some crazy going in there.
It's somewhere. Especially, well, yeah, because it had Basswood.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a, and that's why that guitar down in Ushuaia was like that, because it had a flat top. You know, that it was the Grand Am Lamb or something like that. I think they called it. Yeah,
and they had that switcheroo system in it too.
Yeah, and it was so. Yeah, I built it. I'm sure I did.
I wish I still had it.
Yep. No, there's lots of little tricks to the trade that's really fun to learn, and that was one of them, because I heard you talking about Basswood, and it's kind of an important one, because you could strip out the holes, and you strip them out, and then you got to use a bigger screw or.
No, that doesn't happen in my house.
No.
I wanted to say too. I wanted to say too that this man here has heard of the guy that built my guitar in '82.
Who's that? Oh yeah.
Bill Isaacson.
Yep.
He has heard of Bill Isaacson.
Yep. Absolutely.
I've never met anybody that's heard of Bill Isaacson. I tell the story about he brings me into a shop. I pick out the wood. I went to this guitar. It's like solid striped maple. And I said, no, I want it like this. I want it like that. He went to the Kramer factory and built the dang thing in their wood shop, and it took forever. And by the time he was done with the guitar, he had been let go from Kramer, because apparently he misplaced a lot of wood. He kind of lost it.
Oops.
And a lot of it was in that room of that shop that I went in, and I picked out the best piece I could. So the whole guitar it's striped, it's maple striped, but it's the wood. The grain in the wood is the stripes.
Right.
And you've actually heard of Bill Isaacson. Yeah. He was head of guitars in 1982.
Yeah.
I guess due to these, mysterious circumstances, they got rid of his name, kind of like Pharaoh got rid of Moses or something.
Yeah.
He's been stricken.
Yeah, things happen. But yeah, it's and then also we were talking about that Mick Jagger thing. Come to find out later, I ended up building Mick several guitars. In fact, you know what? I actually think I have a picture of Benny. You'll get a kick out of this. Oh, I have a picture of Tom. I actually walked away from the Stones. Oh God, I can't remember what tour it was. Walked away with a '54 Broadcaster that was signed by Chet Atkins. That was Keith Richards' guitar. It was Tom and I and Benny, and I'm walking out of the Coliseum, and I had to bastardize it, because Keith likes a humbucker in the bridge, or no, a humbucker in the neck, and not good. But then we built. Oh yeah, here's Benny. You're gonna love this picture. We built after that tour. They did the Urban Jungle Tour. Sorry, Benny.
Oh yeah. Hey, Benny.
Yeah. And
He's probably watching.
He was doing his best Mick. But I don't know who did the graphics on it, but it was kind of cool.
Wow.
Even over the pickguard or the pick cover, the pickup cover and everything. It's called the Urban Jungle Tour. But that was an interesting. That was, and I only met him that one time, and I never met Keith. But here is, there's some other pics and stuff, but interesting times, very interesting times. I mean, through those guys, between Tom and Steve, I met so many people, and got to build guitars for so many different people. It was a absolute. I mean, I look back on it as kind of Cinderella story. I think about it. It was, yeah. It was fun.
I kind of know the feeling. You know, it was just regular life to me. You know, I was just like, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
It's a regular guy.
But it's absolutely enjoyable talk. I love talking about it. Yeah, and it's fun. And it's kind of a love. There's not a lot of money. I actually looked into getting into I live in Clearwater, Florida, and so I was going to go over to Deane Guitars over in Tampa, and then I had a friend that had worked there, and he says, "Brett, you don't want to work there." He says, "No," but so I kind of shied away. I gave him a resume. They didn't call. So be it. It wasn't meant to be. You know, I definitely believe that there are certain things that are meant to be in life, and some things are not. Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to rewire Ripley electronics, and you remember how to do it, I can send you a bunch of people. You want to get back into it? There's a bunch.
I just stuffed circuit boards, man. I didn't know how it all worked. Steve told me what I needed to put where, and I did it. Yeah. But I was the meticulous type person that he needed, and so I was good with the soldering iron, and I had a memory.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because a lot of these guitars that are not working properly, there's really not people how to fix them.
And my bench was ultra clean right there because I had just started. I wasn't even, but that's how it all started right there. And that's the height of the ceiling. Oh, and we had a Roth that used to come in, and he had a name for it. It was a wild one, but it used to run around those rafters right up above our heads. He had a name for it. I can't remember what the name was.
A rat?
Yeah.
There was a rat that lived up there?
Yeah. Well, no, it'd come in. It would come in the building once. I had no idea how it got in, and right outside that place was just you're literally looking at just a little bit less than half of the place right there. Yeah. Right where the picture was taken was where like the 4 guitars are.
Like that.
Those Steve was standing in the middle of the 4 guitars taking my picture, so you see the other wall. That's how big it was. That was it.
Wow.
That was it. Yeah.
I love that Ripley logo down there at the bottom left.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think that was for like at NAMM show or something. He had a small booth that he sat in with someone else or put his Ripley guitars up there. Yeah.
Oh,
and then I think you see there's a picture back there with Seymour Duncan and Jeff Beck right behind my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times.
That's so cool. And I found that photo of Benny with Frankenstein. I found that. Maybe you've seen.
Oh yeah.
There he is.
Yep. Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
Benny, if you're watching this, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've known Benny for years and years, and he says he'll come on the show at some point. I think we were going to do the show at his place. He has a shop out here, like an hour away.
Right.
And yeah. And I actually asked Steve Ripley if he wanted to come on. This was years ago. And he declined because he's like, nobody would want to hear what I have to say.
Right.
That's what he told me.
Yes. That's Steve.
So.
Yeah.
But we would message. We would message all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a special guy. Yeah. Well, cool, guys. Well,
right on.
I think I've pretty much talked out about everything I can, and then the Ripley basses, those were kind of cool, and they were fun to play with, and some guys use them. Jeff Pilson used them. Built one for Ripley's for Willie Weeks, and like I said, Michael Porcaro, and then Ed had one. And
I had a Kramer 85 catalog at one point. when I was a kid, or maybe I don't know how I got it, but it had a Ripley bass section in it, and that was the only time I ever saw a Ripley bass was in that catalog.
Right. It's a 5-string. Actually made a fair amount of them. We did. Yep. And that's the bowling ball. Yeah. I have a picture. I think I have that. I think I have that art, that magazine as well. I have a bunch of stuff stashed. A bunch of stuff from Steve Vai and a bunch of different stuff from Dweezil, and yeah. I just recently got to see Dweezil too. He played right down here in St. Pete and at this really cool venue, and we got caught up on times, and it was really nice. And a nice big hug, and we talked for quite a while to get caught up. We hadn't seen each other in quite a while. But I used to call him on his birthday ritually. I mean, for years. He used to say, "Brett, you're like the only one that calls me on my birthday." Yeah. It's September 5th. And we're born in the same month. Thanks, Dweezil.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right on.
Cool.
Well, hey, Brett, thank you so much. And yeah, Lewis, thank you, man.
No problem.
Lewis is the one that got us all connected.
I also want to mention that Charlene, I reached out to her, and unfortunately she wasn't available tonight, but she wished us all a good show. So thanks to her as well for putting us in touch with Brett.
Yeah.
Yes.
I owe her a phone call.
And everybody, Lewis knows Cody from Stigatsu. Lewis here is friends with Cody, who everybody that watches our show knows. He's given us stuff to give away. He's got more stuff coming. I'm always talking about parts he has, old staple parts, right? And stuff that I would buy to build guitars with. Cody's just been great, and Lewis is his friend here, so better shout him out. Yeah.
Cody's a great guy. He's got just an unbelievable amount of parts, vintage parts. So it's fun to look through his eBay site.
Yeah, we do that on sometimes on this show. We do that, or we do that Saturday nights. We look through his listings and stuff.
Well, I plan on going to see him, so maybe I'll do a live stream from there so you can see all that he has in there.
That'd be cool. I mean, like that neck that I found. He had that ESP neck. It turns out that was your neck. That was crazy.
Yeah, Cody and I are we're friends, so every once in a while we share some stuff, and yeah, that ESP neck was my neck. That he's taken on a bunch of different things, but he's a good guy.
Yeah, that's an 85 ESP 48th Street custom shop. The kind of thing I do. Yeah.
It was a Japanese custom shop. It was actually a guitar built for a customer in Japan. Chris Gill actually put me in touch with the guys at ESP, and they tracked it down to the Japanese custom shop. And so somebody brought it over to the States, and it ended up in my hands, and now it's in Cody's, and it's on his site now if anybody wants it.
Last I heard, it was $850, which is worth every penny, and that's just what I love. The old, the Japanese handcrafted necks.
Yeah, it played beautifully on it. It was. Like I mentioned before, I own a guitar a week. I get rid of them because I like to learn from them, fix them up, and move on. And I'm not really tied to any guitar, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm always seeing your posts like this, like look, like on Monday, I just got this. This is amazing. On Friday, it's for sale. I see that all the time.
I live vicariously through you guys. I like to find guitars that need a little bit of work, fix them up, and move them. Unfortunately, I should just own one and play it and just learn how to play again. Like I haven't played in a while just because I'm keeping myself busy. It's just a passion I had. It kept me off the streets when I was younger, just working on guitars. And so I would have loved to have done what you guys did when you were younger, but now it's it's a passion for me. So they come in and they go out. And so while I'm trying to work on my Strats, I got to keep myself busy some other way, and it's with guitars. So there's worse things to be into, right?
Definitely.
No complaints. My wife's the only one that complains because she's like, "Oh, there's another box at the front door."
You buy them all in the same color.
Another insider tip.
And use super glue for the holes.
There you go.
That's right. That's
Right on. Right on. Okay. Brett, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be in touch, man. We're Facebook friends now, so it'll be awesome.
Yeah,
Lewis, thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
Robbie, thank you, everybody. Let's see. Brett, is there anything you want to promote? Any social pages?
I mean, nothing at the moment. No. I mean, right now, what I do now, most of my musical stuff is I play a Dumbek hand drums for my wife, who is a belly dancer. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, life's rough.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Lewis, FairfieldGuitarCo.com, right?
Yes,
you
sir.
got your Instagram page.
Yep.
Um,
Some new straps coming up in the next week. We have a new one coming up, and so working on some things. So very exciting things coming up.
Awesome. Robbie, he releases cover tunes on his channel. ! Robbie in the chat. We'll give you his channel.
Actually,
Thank you so much.
They've been original this week, John.
Originals.
Yes.
Right on. So check out his channel. Thank you so much to all our channel members. You guys are awesome. Join us tomorrow night, Saturday night. We'll be hanging out. And right on, everybody. Smash that thumbs up. Smash that subscribe. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. All right. Brett, Lewis, Robbie, thank you so much.
All right, ready to jump?
All right. Thank you.
See everybody later. Johnny Beane TV. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Michael Anthony right here, and you are watching Johnny Beane TV. Keep it there.